Hey, Boomer.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Well, what are you talking about? Like before we do this, your Devin McCourty said something about us. What?
Yeah, I was asking Devin yesterday. He was on with us at the NFL today. I said, so tell me about the guys in the morning over there at WEEI. And I said, specifically Jermaine. And he goes, Jermaine's a clown.
That's all right. It's not the first or the last time I've been called a clown, Boomer.
Yeah, but he said it with such reverence, Jermaine. And he loves you. I got to tell you, he loves you.
That.
And he was also telling me that Bill Belichick shows film of you in the Super Bowl as like inspiration for those guys that go undrafted.
Yeah. It's actually a segment called "Don't Let This Happen to You" when you retire. That's what it's called.
That's great. I love that.
Speaking of clowns, Boomer, do you echo what your colleague Bill Cowher said yesterday about Jim Irsay?
Yeah, well, of course I do. I mean, Frank was my college roommate. He, was there for 4.5 years. Now, I will say Frank will never say anything like this. Frank is a guy of high moral character and is just a terrific coach. And, just things went south on him really quickly there in Indianapolis. They do have an impetuous owner. I don't think anybody in the coaching fraternity appreciates an outsider coming in, especially one who was a part consultant and part buddy to the owner. Just feels wrong, but you can't argue with the results of what happened yesterday. The one thing that Frank did tell me about Jeff Saturday, because they had been speaking for years, and Frank really wanted to hire him as an offensive line coach, was that he has a dynamic personality. So when he stands up in front of the room and the guys and everything else, he will definitely get a charge out of them. And I think we kind of saw that yesterday. I actually picked the Colts to win because Josh McDaniels' Raiders are in such a disaster mode that it wasn't really hard to see that the Colts would be improved, especially running the ball with a healthy Jonathan Taylor and starting Matt Ryan, who was, we were told 2 weeks ago, was not going to start or play the rest of the season, that Sam Ehlinger was going to be their starting quarterback.
Boomer, that Bills-Vikings game yesterday, is that the best game you've seen so far this season? And do you think Josh Allen's injury played into anything that happened with him yesterday?
The only thing the injury played into, Courtney, was the fact that he didn't practice for a couple days. I never liked going into a game without having practice. There's something about a routine and getting your ideas together as the week goes on and seeing film and going out there and then putting it on the practice field. I don't think his injury had anything to do with yesterday. As a matter of fact, I thought he threw the ball exceptionally well, and he almost willed them to a win after the fumble down on the goal line. But I have to say, that's one of the most unique set of circumstances and sequences that I have ever seen in a football game, and that's what makes that game so special. I mean, the fact that Minnesota fell on the ball on the 1 yard line makes you wonder, like, what is Josh Allen thinking about? Now, a lot of times I will say this is like a 1 in 1,000 type of play where the quarterback and the center screw up the snap and they fumble it, but it's not out of the realm of possibility to understand that when you were down on your goal line, that the defense is going to sell out and they are diving everybody right at the center, and sometimes that knocks them off of what they should be doing, and that is putting the ball between their legs so the quarterback securely receives it, and that didn't happen yesterday.
Well, Boomer, I probably would have went out of shotgun because that's what most guys are used to nowadays, and gave Josh a little bit more room. But are the Miami Dolphins for real when you look at where they are in the AFC East or in the AFC in general?
The amazing thing is we are here in November, and we are talking about the Jets at the Patriots, and the Jets are actually playing for first place if they win the game. I mean, that tells you all you need to know about the NFL this year, Jermaine. But I have to say, the Dolphins are fun, man. They are fun to watch. Tyreek Hill is ridiculous on the football field. I mean, he is going to get MVP votes. There's no question if he continues to do what he's doing. The interesting thing for me, and we saw this stat yesterday. Now, this is under a completely different set of circumstances for Tua Tagovailoa. Got a different coach, a different offense than he's had the last couple of years. But under 50 degrees, he's 0-3. So right now, they're in first place. They continue to win, and let's say New England beats the Jets next week. If they host the playoff game, I think they're going to be really difficult. I want to see what it's going to look like if Miami has to go on the road in the playoffs, let's say to Buffalo or Kansas City in cold weather. Then that will really tell us whether or not they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
So who are your Super Bowl teams at the halfway point, Boomer?
All right, so San Francisco's still in the NFC. I know that Philadelphia is undefeated. They play tonight against Washington. But, San Francisco's defense still not 100%. But if you watch them in the second half last night, they were awesome. They were absolutely awesome. And the addition of Christian McCaffrey gives them a whole skill group of guys that are about as good as anybody in the NFL. And Jimmy Garoppolo is just, a guy that can win football games. That's all he does is win football games. It may not be pretty. He's pretty, but it may not. The game may not be overly pretty. But I have to say, I still think them. And then in the AFC, the Ravens didn't play this week, so we're all like, okay, we forgot about them. The Ravens are a bitch to play with, and they have a very easy schedule moving forward. So I wouldn't doubt if the Ravens end up with the best record in the AFC.
It sucks for the Patriots and Jets that they're both coming off a bye, going against teams that are coming off a bye. Do teams think about that when they think about their bye? They look at the schedule and they say, shoot. The Jets also have that time to rest in between. We don't have the advantage.
It is all, I think we were talking about this yesterday, it is a little bit about momentum. Like, are you playing well and what's your team like injury-wise? For the 49ers, when they went on their bye, it was great because they needed that extra 10 days to get a bunch of guys back on the field, and that certainly helped them. I think for teams like the Jets, who had a little bit of momentum going, and by the way, the Jets are 4-0 on the road this year, which is amazing. Probably needed a little bit of a break. I mean, there was a lot of stress and anxiety the last couple of weeks. Zach Wilson was feeling it. This is a huge game for them. This is one of those calling card games. If they can win on the road at New England, it would be huge for them, and believe it or not, they would be in first place if they won. So coming off of a bye, I think for both teams, I don't think in this case for either of these teams is going to upset their mojos.
Well, you talk about a huge win for the Jets if they can win this football game. And we obviously talked about Miami. Are they for real? I mean, you're down there in New York. Does it seem like that this game is the game that the New York fans look at and go, okay, is this Jets team really a good football team? Or can they get past their kryptonite of the New England Patriots? Because last year they played the Jets and basically, had 4 interceptions on Zach Wilson. You play him this year, have 3 interceptions. Is this the game for Jets fans to say, show us that you can beat New England before we believe?
100%. Absolutely 100%. Their victory over Buffalo last week maybe is a little tainted just because of the way Josh Allen has played the last few weeks. But nonetheless, I mean, that was the number 1 and number 2 offense and defense coming in here, and the Jets beat them after falling flat in their face against New England. And the good thing about that was that Zach Wilson actually played a very solid football game after being, the center of attention when it came to all the criticism after losing that New England game. So the Jet fan believes that this is it. This is like, you want to be real, you got to go up there and you got to beat Bill Belichick. And Zach Wilson has got to do what he did last week, and that is don't turn the freaking football over because their defense has been good enough to keep them in games. And then on the other side, for New England, it's really this is where Mac Jones should be healthy, coming off of that bye, no more ankle injury. I remember I told you guys early on when he did get hurt, I said, do not come back early. Do not come back early. And I thought he came back too early and didn't play that well that first game. But the last couple of games, he's been better, hasn't really turned the ball over, which is one of the reasons why they're winning. So this is really one of these quarterback games where the quarterback that makes the 1 or 2 mistakes is going to end up losing the game for their team.
The question of the week for Boomer is brought to you by McFarland Energy, the always reliable HVAC and home oil delivery pros at McFarlandEnergy.com. Tom Brady and the Bucs get it done in Germany. Do you believe that there will be an NFL team in Europe in the next 10 years? Boomer?
I don't believe so. I really don't. I know Roger Goodell has been talking about that, but the travel nightmares, the infrastructure, do players, are they going to want to live in Munich? Are they going to want to live in London? The expense of all of that for the families. I mean, there's so many things that they got to get through. I would think that if there is some sort of team over there, it's got to be a whole division, and it would have to be like a new division that was added. And I just don't see logistically how you can do that. It's exciting, and certainly these cities and these countries are paying for these games to be played in those particular stadiums. That's one of the reasons why the NFL does it, because they make extra money on a game that they don't have to sell to their season ticket holders back home here.
Why would Seattle ever agree to do a game like that? It seems like a logistic nightmare in my mind when you think about the time difference for all these players. Yes, they can get there 5 days ahead of time. But what was it, 3 a.m., 6 a.m. their time when the game started?
Yeah, it's a weird deal. I don't know why the NFL would send a West Coast team. I really don't. And now they may have went the other way. I'm assuming somebody said it was only about an hour more on the plane compared to compared to the Bucs. But I don't know. It would drive me crazy to do it. I would hate it, and I know that the coaches can't stand it. But at the end of the day, when you watch it on TV and you see those stadiums sold out, the NFL is not going to stop this because they're making a ton of money on these games.
Also, the turf looked a little slippery in some areas where Tom Brady was. I know.
Yeah. Very sensitive guy. But, I'm telling you right now, and I've said it to you now, that the divorce is out of the way and all this other stuff is out of his life. He's going to play next year, guys. I think he's going to play next year.
Well, I mean, do you think it could be here?
Up there in New England? Wouldn't that be something? That would be unbelievable. I doubt that would be the case, but man, that would be what a story that would be. That would be amazing.
We had Bill on Monday, and he was gushing about Tom, and then Tom went on his podcast and was talking about how he watches every single New England Patriots game. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
I don't think anything's out of the realm of possibility with Tom Brady. Honestly, I mean. His wife bought the house across the canal from him. I mean, my God, it's just unbelievable. I'm just glad it's not the backyard. The backyard, you see the pools and everything else, and all the interaction with other people.
Oh, you just you got a privacy fence. That's why they make those 12-foot high privacy fences.
I'm sure.
Hey, before you go, can you weigh in on the big controversy around here, which is Thursday, two legendary tight ends, Jermaine Wiggins and Christian Fauria, will do battle during the show. This is a Fauria challenge on Wiggy. And what are you going, 75 balls?
No, I think it's like 25. I think it's
25 balls out of the jugs machine. Who you got?
Wow, that's a good question. Since I work with Wiggy, I think I have to pull for my man. He's my partner. So right. I'm pulling for my partner, and you guys better be pulling for him as well.
Of course we are.
All right, good.
Boom, I don't really need any. I mean, thank you for pulling for me, but I've always had the best hands on my team, every team I played for. So that was the one thing that I did have when I played in the league, is I could catch anything. So I ain't worried about Fauria.
I feel like Fauria is going to be on the ground like Brady trying to trip you. Yesterday.
The amazing thing is you just call him Fauria. Is it a Fauria?
Yeah, that's his nickname.
That's his nickname. Yeah, we call him Fauria around here.
You call him Fauria. Okay, well, Fauria doesn't have a chance.
And what are these rumors about you with retirement?
Yeah, I don't know. That's my former partner in the afternoon down here decided to have an organic conversation about my future, and I have no idea why. And I'm like, so I came back the next morning, had to discuss it with my group, and I said, don't worry about it, guys. It's more likely Craig will be dead in a year than I will be retiring. So,
all right, Boomer, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, look forward to it. It's going to be interesting this week. See you guys.